Hey everybody, welcome to Talkin Overtime. That's Brian to my left or right. I don't know how this is going to be edited.
Right ahead.
And we're gonna chat about mask and some other topics. Thanks for sticking around on I think episode 6 now. Um, we should take a page out of the Mandalorian and start calling them chapters.
Yeah.
I can rename them, but I do like the way they do that. But this
Like
is
chapter 6, The Gambler.
Yeah. So we could do that, but we have to consult the Wheel of Illusion first on what we're going to talk about. For those of you who are just joining us, the Wheel got its name a couple weeks ago, and the Wheel dictates what we talk about. There's 8 things on there. We go for about 30 minutes, give or take, and topics, we talk about them until we can't talk about them anymore. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we will get this going in
Let's see.
a second. Share computer sound. Gotta make sure I do that. All right. So here's the wheel, and I'll give everybody a second to read them. You read the options here, but I'm not gonna read them all out loud. I feel like that's time that we'll waste to read that. So we're just gonna spin it and see what we get here. I really hope we land on. Well, actually, you know what? You're like 90% on your guessing on what it's going to land at. What do you think it's going to hit?
I'm going with the one I don't need to talk about at all. Generic Venom agents. I think it's going to land on that one because I have nothing to say about it. So let's go.
They're generic.
They're very generic. So here we go. Generic Venom agents. Hey! Much better topic. Much better topic.
Yes, it is a better topic. So since Andy was a factor in your comics, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, Andy Trakker, like when you think about it, is a like vital character in like the Mask history. It makes sense. Miles and Matt-Trakker don't really like make sense together, but with Andy as like the missing ingredient, especially in like the comics and those little mini comics like stuck out in my mind as like that was kind of like I know a lot of people just relate to the cartoon, but those little comics when I was a kid were like they were what I was like into. Those stupid little comics, probably read them 1,000 times, and I was like, Andy Trakker, Matt got he got double crossed, and it made sense. Like the cartoon kind of just jumped in, like here we are bad. They have mask technology, and so do we. And there was really they didn't like have a pilot episode where like Andy Trakker was even involved. There's no Andy in the cartoon ever, right?
No, they may mention him once
They
or
definitely
twice.
mention him, but like it's not like he doesn't have like a, they don't have an episode like before Mask was Mask. They just they like some cartoons go back and have like a little origin story, and Mask never did that. So I think Andy Trakker's story is really interesting. In the comics, I tried to like make him like a key figure in '85, and even in '86, I kind of like sneak him in at the end there and kind of do a what if. And I just think Andy Trakker like works so well as like Batman's Martha, like as like Matt-Trakker's Martha, like Martha. Like it was kind of like an impetus for like him to create Mask. So it's kind of important. And I would love if a reboot focused on like Andy Trakker's, death.
No, you're not no. You're right. The comics. That's one thing that really bothered me a lot about the cartoon is the fact that it jumped in. It's like watching a Batman movie without seeing the parents get shot. Like
like why is he Batman? Oh, I'm just gonna take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, I wait. Bruce Wayne, his parents must be still alive. I didn't see them die.
Yeah, this guy's a crazy person. He's dressing up in a bat costume.
I always wish they had a pilot episode or one of those episodes to kind of show what, like how Matt had to cope with it, and it's also something. So I'm not sure how the editing is going to work with everything, but I also did I did an episode with Lisa and Darcy.
Okay.
And I haven't posted it yet because I'm still going through the editing of it, but we kind of talk about those elements. Like I'm not going to give too much away on it, but without without it without it somewhere like starting somewhere like the comics. Okay, that makes sense. And if you're correct me if I'm wrong on this, with the Masters line, didn't they have a comic with the figures initially?
Yes, the comic books were like my thing. Like the little
No.
mini comics that came with them were like the cartoon was again like I don't know why I gravitated towards comics and reading materials, but the cartoon for Masters of the Universe was not my like lore. It was like the comics that came with them and like the little golden books that they had out at the time that were like really
Was
Conan.
was it because they didn't have a cartoon yet? Is that why they
The,
released
the writers of the cartoon and the comic books were like not on the same page.
them? Okay.
And when they aimed it at a cartoon, they aimed it at a younger audience than the comics, which the comics were a little bit, I'm not going to say adult. They weren't like, some kind of like, heavy metal comic thing where it's like, they were ripping heads off, but they definitely like, it was like a little more Conan the Barbarian. It wasn't
Yeah.
so like Prince Adam as Clark Kent, changing into He-Man. And Mask could have used that because Mask doesn't have any weight to it without that like origin episode. It's kind of just like I would have loved to see it like my 85. I wanted to see how like Hondo came in and kind of Brad came in and like I kind of like tried to incorporate it to an extent to like see the creation of Mask is something we never really get to see, and it's kind of like an interesting concept.
You kind of had to guess on it, and that's
Just filling in the blanks.
there are some other iterations of the comics. So I'm sure Dave will watch this episode, and if there's anything that is in there that kind of talks about how they came to be.
I'm sure there is. I have them all framed. I haven't really been reading the old ones, but I'm sure there's people like there's comic experts out there who just know the European stuff. Maybe I don't know the European comics. I'm sure there's some stories there that are like that would like make me pretty happy to just read them.
Well, yeah, and I really want to see something with Andy in whatever they do. Whether Andy's in one episode, if they reboot it, or he's in 10 minutes of the movie, if that's the case.
I would love him like 25, 30 minutes into the movie. Like you're like, oh, he's dead. Like in some like my brother doesn't see it coming because he wouldn't know. He would just, be like, oh, he must be in Mask.
No, the betrayal of of Andy with Miles, as you said, it's a key factor. So what happens after that? Because everything's taken essentially. So there's a lot that falls on his death, and there's a lot of really good storylines you can do with it.
It's so good, and like you get a lot more out of Matt-Trakker's character by seeing how he is before Andy dies, after Andy dies. They can change it a little bit. Maybe he's a little bit of a playboy, kind of like having too much fun, and then Andy's death kind of like is sobering and gives him a little more, I don't know, leadership and I don't know, responsibility. There's things they can.
It really could, or maybe his death turned him into a playboy or something.
Yeah, maybe he went the other way. He was kind of like this and that, and that kind of like sent him off into a, not a bender, but kind of like a wild streak.
And then whatever happened, and then whatever he did to have Scott in his life, maybe that's sobered him.
All I know is I hope the twist at the end of the Mask movie is they had put Andy Trakker's memories and personality into T-Bob. That would be the twist.
All of a sudden, it doesn't talk at first.
Yeah.
And at the end.
And then at the end, he says something that Andy said earlier in the movie. Andy, is that you?
Yeah, he's like, with great power comes great masks.
Yeah. With great power comes great Scott.
It could be something like that. And maybe Graham McKenna can reprise his role.
Oh, please. He does a better T-Bob than I do.
So, but it's something that a lot of people don't know about. If you don't know about the mini comics,
yeah, I'd say most average Mask fans don't know Andy Trakker exists.
They're pretty easy to find. Dave covered them for his first episode.
Yeah, I remember that.
So he goes over the main story, but they're out there. They're probably on Mask Force or Mask Comics. I don't have them scanned.
I have them right there in my Boulder Hill, so maybe I'll do like a bedtime story and I'll just read them to you guys. Christmas present.
Well, No, we gotta do some readings of your stuff.
Oh, that'd be great.
Uh, I'll be T-Bob. So,
Go for it. I like
but
the ending of
that's
that.
Andy Tracker. And as always, let us know what you're thinking in the comments. We want to bolster this up a little bit. And for this episode here, what I'm thinking too is I'm going to pick a random winner through the comments and the likes, and I'll send a mug out. There's only
Hey,
one going out, so
then
send
you
a
can
mug out.
cheers at the beginning of every episode.
I don't want to get too close; it'll spill. But we'll do that based on the comments and the likes and everything. So if you want to win a Matt-Trakker.com mug, I mean, who doesn't? There's your chance.
And you don't get any points for writing Lisa. That doesn't count. That's for Wes.
All right. So you struck out on that first one. So
Total miss.
I'm thinking,
what are you going? You go. You guess.
No continuity.
I was gonna go 80s cartoon characters, but you know what? I think you're gonna be right.
I'm never right, so we'll see.
I don't know. The sun shines on a dog's butt every once in a while. Hey! Speaking of Wes, there you go.
This was one of your suggestions.
No, it was a suggestion from one of the commenters, whether it's Freddy Krueger or somebody. I forget. Somebody commented and said we should feature the mass community on the wheel.
Well, we can. It was your suggestion, though.
Yeah, I did say, hey, when you said you want a wheel category, I was just like, mass community.
Populated. I needed one more to fill it up. But I mean, I can start too, since you started the last one. So the community, it's something to really behold. There for an obscure 80s cartoon and toy line that had a sizable following back in the day, but without anything new, it's kind of amazing that everybody still kind of huddle around it. And I know that when I talk to the voice actors, they're surprised just because it wasn't something that like really carried and resonated. Whether it's people on the Facebook groups or visiting the websites, watching this show, and not even just like those people too, like other YouTube channels. Like there's people out there that talk about Mask, and it's refreshing to see it still happen. Although there was that one episode, was it the Sci-Fi Channel or whatever it was? They were like condescending when they were talking about Mask.
Oh, I hate that. Like 8 rules about Mask. Like the one host was like being really snarky.
I forget. Was it Sci-Fi Channel?
It was one of those, and she's like, things you didn't know about Mask, and they kind of were like trashing it a little bit.
Yeah.
There was definitely some digs that I remember like going, you guys aren't really fans. You're just kind of trying to like pander to a demographic right now.
I think I posted on it too. I think I said something along the lines of, "Hey, thanks for doing this, but let up on your sarcasm," or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's all these things out there, and one of the things that started for me, and one of the cool things, is that I'm finally chatting with Albert Bonello. That's really where Mask really, I think, came together first on the internet.
Yeah, I think that's the message board I remember the most when I first got into like the internet and going like, oh, Mask is something I loved. Does anybody else know it exists? And like his message board was like the first one I can remember like going, wow, they're talking about the racing series. Like that's crazy.
And there's All About Mask that's coming back. There's all these sites, Agents of Mask, Mask Comics, BoulderHill.net, all these websites out there. And there's others too. I know, but and Mask Force, I just that one.
That's great. I mean, that's so recent, and like I can't believe like that is the newest site, and it's almost like a fully fleshed out site right now. Like people would think it was there for 20 years if you look at the work put into it, and like that's still, people are still creating new Mask sites, which like blows my mind.
Him and his son working on it too, so it's pretty cool. He's learning by doing and sharing a passion that his father has. And
you know it. You have to love it if you're going to do it to any good successful level, especially when you're not getting paid for it. Like if you don't love doing it, what are you gonna you're getting out of it what you put into it, I guess. Then
no, you're right. And they have the website has a pretty large community section too. It just says community on there, and you're in there somewhere. I don't think I'm up there yet though.
You're in there somewhere. You're in there.
I don't think I have like a full page for myself.
Yeah, I didn't ask for it. He came to me and said, "Would you mind if you featured some of this stuff?" And I'm like, "Please, that's great." Anytime someone approaches me and wants to like feature me, whether it's like an interview or any kind of like art gallery, they want to share my stuff, I'm always like, "Yeah, go ahead." Like, I'm shocked. Like, I don't know. The more places it is, the better for me.
Rip it off.
No, and again, I'm not getting paid for this stuff. I mean, my Redbubble 15-cent commissions on this stuff. I try to put it up, my artwork, as cheap as I could, just because so many people were asking me where I could get a print and stuff. And I'm not like trying to retire on my mass drawings. I just want people to have them in their house, like good quality prints. But like the community is awesome. It really is.
I don't know. Maybe once you hit $1, you can retire.
Yeah, once I hit that big dollar amount.
I lost my train of thought there. Damn it.
Websites. You're not on the Mask Force website. You're going to get your page one day. Maybe a statue out front of the Mask Force.
I had a joke.
It's because I talk over you too much. It's my fault.
I'm just going to randomly say it during this chat.
Yeah, if it comes back, just spill it out. I don't care.
Yeah. But no, and you're taking the community too. You've been in it for a while, even though we didn't know each other.
No, I was like kind of like just some guy in the background who would check in on the stuff and go, "Oh, cool mask," and bounce in and out and like not write anything. And people probably looked at my name and was like, "What is that?" Like Kerouac. Okay, dismiss him. But one day, yeah, I'm sure everybody did. And then one day I just was like, I think I'm gonna draw a comic about mask, and I put like a couple of pinup sketches I did out there on like Toy Collector and maybe your page and stuff. And then I was like, I'm just going to jump into the comic. And before that, I wasn't like I wasn't the fabric of the mask community. I was just like, if I was lucky, I was belly button lit. But I jumped in and everybody just kind of like was like so awesome, like welcoming me with like open arms. Like right away, you were nice. You put a video up about the comic book and I'm like, wow, holy crap. Matt-Trakker did something about my thing. Because as far as I'm concerned, you were just a YouTube channel I was a fan of. I wasn't just, I wasn't talking to you. You just seemed so hard to talk to. Like you were up there with like, it was you, Ben Affleck, Tom Cruise. Like, how could I imagine myself sitting here talking with you? But here I am. Yeah. And like guys like Wes right away was like, I love your art. It's awesome. Mike Tipgram with the Star Wars helmet. I wonder if he wears that around town. Like AT toys, mask toys. Like so many Instagram guys are so cool. And like this, just like what was that? Dazzler Dave. Like there's a lot of people who comment on art and share mask stuff constantly. Like Grignani's awesome. There's so many to name. Lisa Darcy, super supportive. They just like would, send me a message. I love your comic. When's the next one coming out? And I'm like, wow, that's weird. People are like waiting for the comic. Like I don't know. Like everybody just has been cool from the start. I was waiting for someone like to have to defend myself, like against people who are like, you're doing this wrong. But everybody was the opposite. They're like, wow, thanks so much. Like even what's his Mass Comics, William Crawford. Like he's pretty much a tough critic and a hard guy to please. But instantly he was like, I love your Mass Comics. I'm like, oh, I thought he was gonna rip me a new one, and he was kind of like cool about it. So everybody's been awesome. I don't know what to say. Like people become friends.
No, I secretly hate the hard copies that Jason made for Majors of Mask. I didn't want to use it as toilet paper, really.
Yeah, Jason and Wyatt. I mean, I forgot to mention them. You didn't want to use it as toilet paper. Thanks. It's a good 2-ply. It's like a 4-ply. The paper quality is good.
Yeah.
You get a nice solid wipe out of it.
Yeah, before you give yourself paper cuts.
Yeah, use T-Bob's face. But yeah, no, everybody's been so awesome. It's great. Like, it's the only reason I think I stick around. I collect G.I. Joe, Transformers, the rest of it. And those communities are just not as cool. I gotta be honest. There's a couple of people in there that you're like, wow, you're a rough one. But the mass community is kind of chill.
There's some people G.I. Joe wise that we've chatted with.
Oh, dude, Chris McLeod, Full Force, he's awesome. Like he's the pinnacle. Him and like Paul Pamphilone are like the pinnacle of like GI Joe guys being awesome. Like they're just like cool guys, nice dudes.
And I've formed friendships with those guys and you and Jason and Wyatt and other people through this. Tony,
you ever hang around with some Transformers dudes? They're a rough crowd, man.
I have a couple, but I mean, what I have there,
they are they're hit and miss. Some of them are awesome, and the other ones are like, wow, you are a lot. They're like Star Wars fans. It gets a little vicious sometimes. You're like, geez, like you'll be martyred for your opinions.
I hope it don't land on the Mandalorian.
No, see, Mandalorian people are kind of cool. That's because like Mandalorian, is bigger than like Star Wars. Like guys like my brother watch Mandalorian, and they're not really geeks.
My wife watches it, so
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Your wife watches it, and she's not like steeped in any big fandom, and she likes the show, right?
No, she's a big fan of Darth Revan. Really.
Was he from Clone Wars or something?
I think.
Was he from the video game?
He's from some of the video games.
Yeah, I remember he was like Knights of Old.
He might even be from the Legends side. I don't remember. There's Legends, and then there's the canon stuff. I don't remember exactly which one's which, but
he's bald, right? Is he the bald one? One of them.
He's got
I bailed on Star Wars. That crowd's too hardcore for me.
He's got a kind of a Vader complex thing, I think.
All right. That's different.
He is masked, if I remember correctly, or helmeted, whatever you want to call it.
Well, the mask has the same problem. Is it mask or helmeted? Like that's a discussion for the wheel. Is it? Are they masks or are they helmets?
That could be one for the next time.
There you go.
But if you're part of the community, let us know your thoughts on it.
I mean, Freddy Krueger's part of the community. He comments. Lucas Green, I don't know how to say his name. He comments like 10 times. Good guy.
In Robert, when Robert and I were chatting from Mask Force, he brought up the point like it'd be good if everything was like one spot, which that makes perfect sense.
It's so hard to do. Some people don't have Facebook. Some people don't have Instagram. Some people don't have Twitter.
That's what it is.
Everybody's split up.
So at some point, maybe it'll be unified again. But let us know in the comments what your thoughts are. Let everybody let us know like how much you hate Brian.
Yeah. Bring it on.
I'm sure there'll be scathing reviews there.
There'll be one or two.
We go up here again. We're coming up on about 5 minutes or so left here. So we
got time for a topic as long as it's not let's see. I think all those can be covered in the amount of time we have left.
All right. I'm thinking Mandalorian.
I'm thinking theme songs because it's going to take longer than 5 minutes to really break it down.
We'll have to do a part 2.
No, continuing the cartoon.
So, the title of that's misleading. There's a little continuity.
Yeah, it's not like total mess,
thing. It would have been great for it to flow. I mean, I like the one-off.
I have two schools of thought. I don't know which I would prefer.
I like the one-offs. I do.
Yeah, I like that A-team-ish one-off where it's like every week's a different adventure, and like you can watch that episode and not miss anything. But I do.
You could do both, really.
Mandalorian kind of does both. It's like the perfect, you get like a little episode that stands on its own, but they do slowly tell a story as like this, the thread that goes through all the episodes is never like the major part of the show. The major part of the show is usually a storyline, and then we've got to go find this Jedi, and then a whole episode happens that you can just follow, and then at the end they're like, now you have to go to this planet. Oh, okay, I gotta go to that planet next.
I mean, I wish, and it goes back to what we said earlier about Tracker. I wish there was some continuity through it. You could have continuity go through these. You still have, hey, I'm going to, I'm in the Andes Mountains, or I'm in a jungle on this next
Yes,
mission.
and
That's
and
where
and they never did a two-parter, right? There's no two-parters in Mask, right?
no.
I think they're just all
Yeah,
half
they're all
22 minute.
they
Yeah,
were all one-offs um, on that front. But I mean, it goes back to like when Hurricane was crushed.
yeah.
It was gone for a little while, but then all of a sudden it came back and Buddy's driving it. Like
That's out of the blue.
or Firecracker, I mean.
Yes,
And then
I knew.
and there was an episode. I'm almost positive there was one episode where Firecracker and Hurricane appeared together. I have to double check that.
I'm not sure. I watched them out of the side of my eye while I'm doing a million other things.
No, actually, what it was Buddy was piloting Hurricane. That's what it was. So all of a sudden it's back.
I think the thing that suffers for a lot of 80 cartoons that don't do continuity and just did 22-minute commercials to sell you plastic is that you don't get character growth beyond like the episode. Like, so Brad Turner was always the same Brad Turner every episode, and Matt-Trakker's always the same Matt-Trakker. There's no like ebbs and flows. Like, there was no relationship that got the person, down or up or anything. There was no thing like that. So it's like you see one episode, you see them all.
Think about the first episode, the Death Stone, where Hondo gets injured because
yes,
it's stupid. Hondo, I don't think he was in the second episode. So, no, he wasn't, if I remember correctly. Star Chariot, I think it was, and I don't think Hondo was.
Yeah, so I've seen the first 5 episodes like a million times. It's the other ones that start to hit and miss.
Well, I mean, you can think of that as continuity because he was recovering, let's say, from dying.
yeah, from almost dying.
But imagine the second episode is there's a portion of it where, let's say that Alex is back at Boulder Hill and Hondo's recovering and they're doing something from there to help the team.
You're like, I may not be able to drive Hurricane, but I can help do this.
Yeah, I can press this button here.
Yeah.
Or whatever it's going to do. I don't know.
I would have loved like a Matt-Trakker is out of commission. I mean, I know they did it one episode, but I would have loved like a Matt-Trakker is out of commission and like the team members have to like do something themselves in the next episode. It's like, Matt, you're back on your feet.
Or like he sacrificed himself. Like,
yes.
What do you do? Like, do you carry on? And then he comes back an episode later or 2 episodes later. And
I think the racing series really could have benefited from some sort of goal that they were racing to, whether it was like the winner of the race gets a like whatever the Mandela Stone and they need it for a reason. Like there's a if there was like a MacGuffin for the racing series and every episode they got closer to that goal, I think it would have been more interesting to watch than just like that horrible like that like weird country twang music and they're just like shooting at each other in like a coliseum. It was just ridiculous. Had they had like a goal, I might have been invested in like, I can't wait till tomorrow's episode of the racing season. Who's going to get closer to that thing? But no.
Instead, that's a good point. There's, let's say that the racing season is its own standalone, let's say. Even though it kind of is, let's say that it was like Mask and Venom are competing to win, I don't know, $1 billion or something.
Something, yeah. You would have been like more invested in the story, I think, right?
I would have. I would have. If you're going for that, and let's say that they're both doing this race because let's say that their original vehicles are depleted. Like, they need some kind of funding. Matt-Trakker's broke, and all they have is this stuff left.
Or like the final thing is like enough energy to power their vehicles for whatever. Like if they would have just had some stupid MacGuffin that and a kid would be like, like Indiana Jones chases the Holy Grail and all those adventures lead to the Holy Grail. Like, so when he gets the Holy Grail, it's like, he got it. Like there's a payoff and, there's so many adventures in between and that are fun to watch. Mask should have done something like that, but instead they were just.
It would have been nice.
I'm trying to think of what cartoons back then had continuity. Like I know the Wheeled Warriors, the kid was like looking for his dad or something. I don't even know if they ever ended that. I think it just kept going and it never ended. And
I
then
think
Dungeons and Dragons, those kids were trying to get back home through like Masters had like no continuity. They was just like, hey, did you learn any lessons today? Huh?
I thought they had some two-parters.
They did have two-parters, but it was no like thing that ever added up to anything like, significant.
Okay.
And I loved two-parters as a kid. I killed for those. Like, oh wait, tomorrow ends. And then you'd be sitting there just waiting for the time slot where like the GI Joe would continue. And Mask didn't do that.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're also right about that point. There's probably a lot that didn't have it, but Mask was, I think, a good opportunity to have it.
Oh, it'd be great
because of the complexity of the characters. And there were so many of them. It would have been easy to work them in and out of the episodes to give everybody due exposure for whatever they needed, and it would have made more sense. Like all of a sudden, Jacques LaFleur's there out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Breaker, like all of a sudden they're just there. I go, hey,
yeah,
where'd you come from?
Yeah, out of nowhere. All right, here I am.
So, and
they were stationed all around the world and the country. It would have made sense to like have, we have to go to Europe tomorrow, and then other agents are there.
Like, yeah, and that would have made sense. If you're going on a recruitment mission or you have those elements like that, there has to be some kind of story thread to it. And that's one of the biggest things.
Yeah, I think we're thinking of it as a way to tell stories, and they were just really trying to sell you Thunderhawk, which you bought, your parents bought, my parents bought. They were just like, sell the kids the toys. And I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they put their heart into making a good quality show, but they weren't thinking like 30 years from now, guys like us, we're going to be sitting here dissecting the decision making of the cartoon.
Hey, I would dissect it more if I could figure out how to talk about it without getting copyright.
Well, yeah, please, that'd be great.
That's one of the biggest things I want to try to figure out. And it's not to take away from Agents of Mask. They do a great job.
They do it the only way I think you can. They talk about it and kind of like you either watch the show with them or you just kind of like listen to them while you're in your car and try to remember the episode.
Yeah, and it's a good way of doing it, but I don't want to just blatantly steal it from them.
No, hey guys, guess what? I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah, I'm calling it Maskcast.
Yeah, Agents of Mask Bill.
Yeah, it's no, they have a ton of episodes up there. If you're not familiar, you should check them out. Matt-Trakker.com. But I just really wish there was something, and whatever does happen, I hope there is continuation. Like,
I think now you have to. We live in a different time for television. They would definitely tell a story.
Like, I want to. I don't know if you watched the Castlevania series on Netflix.
No, I have it in my queue. I never watch it.
I don't really anime that much. I was a huge fan of the Castlevania series growing up, and it does a really good job with giving you enough in it, like in each episode, and carrying the story onward. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing something along those lines. You
ever watch Avatar: The Last Airbender? It's the perfect threaded storyline. It's the best.
I think I've watched. You ever watch Pitch Meeting on Screen Rant?
Yes, that guy. He talks to himself.
Yeah, I love those. Like they're like little 5-minute clips, 6-minute clips. I think the only time I've ever seen anything on it was on there.
Yeah, no, the show's good.
Ryan George, I think his name is.
I don't know. I just know he talks to himself.
It's a style.
He's the guy that he pitches to, and he's the pitch man. I remember that.
His inflection is so funny, and the timing of what he's doing. So it's funny to watch those, and I think that's my exposure to it. That and like Dragon Ball Z, the movie.
Yeah, see, I don't watch that, but that again, I've heard my students are always like, "You don't watch Dragon Ball Z? What's wrong with you?" So
I think you're perfectly normal if you don't watch it.
Yeah, you know what it is. 42 years old. I missed that. I didn't grow up around that. I missed the whole spiky hair craze thing.
Yeah. No, it's
the Naruto, Dragon Ball Z. I missed that. That's a 90s kid.
Yeah, what is it?
We're old. We're old. That's the problem.
I know we sound stupid right now, but it's just not something I never got into it. And it's something like one of the episodes that I'm currently putting together, I'm going to talk about a mid '90s show that I don't remember at all. And the the '90s shows that I remember were Gargoyles and Batman, the animated
Yeah,
series.
they're early. They're
They
earlier.
were early '90s, but
Yeah,
I used
like
to watch them
92.
in syndication all the time, and I think that's all I really watched at that point. So they, I mean, Gargoyles had, well, except for the last season, it was amazing storytelling. Batman the Animated Series has, had continuation to it. It wasn't.
The episodes were so well written, and the animation, like that's one of my top 3 cartoons.
What about Daria?
Oh, well, those guys were jerks.
He worked. Brian worked on Daria.
Yeah, I worked on the television show Daria once upon a time.
It's my wife's favorite show. It was her favorite show, and she's still waiting to see some of the work he did.
You know what? I'll beat myself up.
Yeah,
I have
sure.
it all the time. I'll send you some stuff.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I have it. Look, I have a sticker from the show right here. You see it?
Oh yeah, there it is.
There it is. A little sticker from the show. That's one. And I have my clutch. I have my bag with the Daria thing on it. They give it at the movie premiere party. We got like a whole bunch of stuff, like T-shirts, a messenger bag, and stuff. And that's the stuff I hung on to.
I'm gonna add Daria to the list for the next chat.
All right, yeah, I got stuff. I was on the show.
You
know what you really want to put on the thing? Beavis and Butthead fan mail answering, because I used to answer as an intern the fan mail to Beavis and Butthead, and I would end up sending all these things back to prisons. They just said, just put stickers in there, no pins.
All right. Two things.
I'll
add to the wheel for the next one.
do that.
But thanks for hanging out for a little bit. I know it was a hectic day for you. My schedule was a little better today in the past couple of days, so we're a day late on getting this out. But to be fair, the last one was out a day before. It evens out. We talked about this before we started recording, so deal with it, I guess.
Yeah, it's free, right?
Yeah, so deal with it. But everybody, thanks for watching. And
Seriously,
if you have wheel topics, post them in the message, and we'll add them in there. We still
look tonight. The community wheel topic got picked.
Yeah.
So the wheel wants your suggestions.
And we usually leave the topics up there so they do eventually get hit and then just replaced. So there's 3 open spots here, and we'll see what we get out of it. So until the next episode, that's Brian over there somewhere. I'm Bill, and we'll talk to you later.